Hi, we're back to lead this last one, I believe, of the Supper Club video for this calendar school year anyway. And as we come to the end of the year, we thought it might be good to talk a little bit about our church seasons. So the church has a liturgical calendar, we call it, that has a certain rhythm to it. Our lives have all kinds of rhythms, the change of the seasons and our family celebrations, and the church has a season too. So in the church, of course, our year begins with Advent, and that goes right into Christmas time. It's followed up by what we call ordinary time into Lent, when we think about Jesus in the wilderness, and that's followed, of course, by Easter, which we're just now past that Easter time, and we'll go to Pentecost, which is the birthday of the church. And what we wanted to talk about today was a little bit more in fullness about what we call ordinary time. It's the color for ordinary time is green in the church, so you'll see the paraments and the stoles we wear become green. That green color is because it's a time of spiritual growth. That's what that ordinary time is about. Ordinary time sounds a little boring. It doesn't sound very exciting. Sounds ordinary. So we thought it'd be good to talk about that with you today.
Yeah, it's it does sometimes feel like, well, this is the off season or something, like like it doesn't count. This is the but it's not that. It's not what this season's really meant to be. That word ordained that's in that word may be helpful for you to recapture some of the meaning of it, as opposed to what we might call festival time, other seasons where there really is a high holiday, Christmas or Easter,
celebration
that we're focusing on. There's no single focus on ordinary time, but that's the beauty of it. It's the focus then is on the everyday. It's on finding God in a falling leaf or the snowfall. Those kinds of things are equally as important, if not more important,
right? Maybe
than a single day that we're waiting for, and then it arrives and boom, it's gone. On to the next one. That's really more about what ordinary time is about. And we were thinking, as we were talking, it's often our children or our own childhood memories of the ordinary that are so special to us. And
right. This is a little bit like Greg's sermon last week about peak to peak. So this is not just the valleys, but everything that's in between the sort of higher moments of life that we think of. I was driving down, I think, Logan Street, and I crossed Dartmouth and ended up driving by my childhood home, the house in Denver, where I grew up from age about 3 until I was 10 or 11 years old. And it had just snowed, and there was lots of water running down the sides of the streets. And as I drove past that, overwhelmingly, I had this memory of how many times my brother and sister and I got big popsicle sticks, the tongue depressors from the doctor, and little popsicle sticks, and would make little boats and just float those things. We'd spend hours and hours, crafting these boats and putting little sails on them and making up dams in the street. And it's an incredible, wonderful memory that I have. I don't know what it ever taught me. I'm not much of a sailor,
but we all have those. We all have these memories that are just the most, you look at it and go, there's nothing, and I love watching my own kids do this now. We've got these, as some of you know, I'm building this thing in my backyard, and so they came and dug the hole last week, and so I have mounds of dirt that are higher than me.
Great. And
to anybody else, it would just be a bunch of, oh great, a bunch of dirt, but my kids, they're just like, and they're playing pirate, and they're climbing over, and they called it a big mound of chocolate the other day, and they were eating, they weren't eating it.
Pretending.
Right. The creativity with a pile of dirt. It's.
I bet the dog was nearby.
The dog is equally inviting us into ordinary time.
That's right.
So the most ordinary things can be very special if we'll let them be, and that's really what we wanted to remind you to think about and to talk about. And that leads naturally into then what gets in our way? Why don't we appreciate these ordinary moments more? Certainly, one of them is that we get overscheduled. It is a faster world. It's a busier world. There's more going on, and that's a challenge for any of us to navigate all of that. And it can.
And even for me now, this is 15 years ago. I think we pretty much overscheduled our kids, if I really think back to it. So why did we do that? It's an interesting question.
Even 15 years ago, you felt you were already, and I think that's only escalated.
Yep.
Part of it, on the positive side, there's more opportunities. There's more things for the kids to get involved with.
And experience. I mean, we all know kids learn best by experiencing things, so we want them to have experiences. Yeah. The question is that question of balance.
Yeah.
And what might they experience in a time of ordinary time if we don't schedule them in the same way.
I love to watch my kids because they're wrestling with this, where they'll, especially Anna will come and say, you know, I'm bored. She's on spring break last week. Right? She's second grade. What can I do? What can I do? Can I invite my friend over to dinner? And sometimes we just won't budge on that. We won't try to fix that for her. And then to watch her go off to her room or go outside and suddenly she's finding something to do. I think it's a important piece of raising kids that we've sometimes lost.
I think we have so many teachers of this ordinary time, of finding the sacred. Barbara Brown Taylor's book that we used at church last summer for a study book talks about the natural world as teacher. Our children, again, do that. We have family rituals and traditions, and certainly at church it's the same thing. We have traditions that teach us. Communion is something where you take very ordinary bread and juice and it becomes something symbolic of a much deeper, more profound reality in our lives.
Yeah, those traditions and rituals, they ground us in the past. That gives you one foot instead of it always being that next thing.
Right.
And you start to feel that, you know, the same Christmas ornaments on the tree, there's a quality there that keeps the most ordinary things special for you.
Music is a wonderful teacher. You know, music teaches us that life has cadence and rhythm, and that refrains come and they go, and music comes back again and repeats, and really interesting things. Lots of things that ordinary life can teach us.
Well, back to what you said about nature, there's something I think that well, music too can draw you in a very special way if you'll allow it. Instead of nature being, you know, the place you go to get away, you know, go up to the mountains just to ski or to entertain us.
Our recreation.
Yeah, recreation. Instead of that, to really be present and watch it. There's something, there's an alive, you know, there's a quality to it. That it's as if God is in those things in a special way. That if we'll allow them, they start to resonate with something deep in us.
How can the natural world be our teacher and not our recreation?
And they're so slow. The rhythms of them are so slow. The changing of the seasons in the natural world, they invite us to slow down.
So we have a great opportunity this summer while Greg is on sabbatical.
A professor at St. Louis University named Belden Lane's going to come. Be here about 20 hours a week. He'll preach regularly. He's also going to teach some classes. And this is a fellow I met a year ago who loves that connection between the natural world and God, and finding God in especially what he calls fierce landscapes, deserts and mountains. Oh, cool. Fascinating guy.
So it should be fun. So here's some questions for you to continue your conversation tonight. Yes, sir?
Sure. What makes the rhythms in your life, what marks those rhythms? So think about it. Is it the changing seasons? Is the church calendar, is that significant in your life? When you see us changing colors in our paraments and robes, does that make a difference for the way you live? School seasons maybe as much as anything, if you've got children. What are they? Can you feel a difference in the way you live in summertime versus wintertime versus school season? And talk about that a little bit. And then the second one, what we're going to do.
How do we find that balance between ordinary time and festival time? So just among yourselves, maybe if you can even identify, you know, when is ordinary time? Is there ordinary time every day, or is it more like certain weeks are ordinary time, or how does that make sense to you? And just share that with each other. I think what we're hoping is that you'll see the way of the church seasons as a way into your own life to understand and see how to really be attentive to the ordinary days that we're given.
Yeah. Great.
So,
I think that's it. This is our last one.
This is our last one. We'll see you in the fall, probably October.
Yeah. Thanks everybody. Bye-bye.